Hello guys, I'm Philippe Yerena from Mercenaries Engineering. I'm a Guerilla expert and also a trainer, and I would like to give you a quick discovery of Guerilla. What is Guerilla? Guerilla, originally it's a render engine, but it's also a lighting package, and of course it's an assembly tool. And last but not least, one of the brand new features, it's a procedural tool that will help you to create wonderful environment or for or any kind of procedural system. So Guerilla been used on many features over the decades, and more recently a couple of high-end productions. We can import and render USD. We're still able to render Alembic objects, OpenVTB, of course, for the fluid, and add Python, even if it's not data format and more glue, but it's part of pipeline as many as the other data format. We can also import exotic format like EAT procedurals, Golem procedurals, and more recently the XGen IGS procedurals. So Guerilla is a standalone. What does it mean? It means that it's easy to install, easy to use. There is no plugin. It works on Linux and Windows, and it's a dedicated tool fully oriented to work for look development, lighting, procedural and rendering, and that the major skills that he got. And there is two products. There is Guerilla Station and Guerilla Render, and they are both developed together as part of the monolith. And it's been developed by the same team, so it works really hand by hand. So let's have a look at the starting point of Guerilla. So let's start Guerilla. Guerilla starts super fast because it's a super light software, and I'm gonna load one of the assets I love to use for doing demonstration. This is a robot with a lot of parts, tiny parts. That is really interesting to play with the amount of data. So this is my OpenGL view. I'm gonna trigger render. This is my render view, my nodal view, and my properties view, and my node list view, and last one, my render output view. I can easily trigger the IP render, so I'm gonna start the IP here and restart the render, and my view is gonna be refresh all the time and really easy to use, so I can pick one piece and directly fit to the view, go back. I'm using the standard navigation keys with the Alt left, Alt middle, Alt right to navigate through my scene. So let's talk about assembly. Guerilla has been built over a tool which is Rendergraph. Rendergraphs are a nodal tool system that help you to edit and use the attributes in a nodal view. And it's a non-destructive system which is based on concept of override, order, and of course you can bypass part of your nodal system. Let's dive into my render graph. So this is my render graph with all the basic nodes that you get by default in the render graph. So mainly it's something that's called all the object in my scene, shade, trace, light, use as the output and validate my flow system. So I'm gonna grab one of my shape. I'm gonna drag and drop it in my render graph. So you see that's my selection, and I'm gonna connect it to my flow. And using some shader, this is surface 2, and I'm gonna turn my object into metal. So it's basically overriding my shape with an attribute. I'm gonna select my shape and having a look at how it's super easy to diagnostic where the information come from and why. So everything go through the shader, but some part of my robot. So everything go through the shader, but only this part go through my surface shader right there. and get the metal attributes. It's non-destructive because you can easily bypass some parts, okay, and you can always override some stuff saying that of course this part is metal, but at any time I can say that I change my mind and this part is not gonna be metal anymore. Okay, that's really stupid, but that illustrates the point about the overriding system. Guerilla Rendergraphs are a super wonderful tool to handle massive amount of data. We got some specific tool for that. We got the Lua patterns that will help you to search and select some part of your or precise part of your geometry, but also the bin operator that will help you to intercept some groups. There is a tag system that will help you to tag arbitrarily some elements of your shapes. So here is my previous scene. I'm gonna remove my edits, my overrides. As you can see, that's just a simple remove with my delete key, and I'm gonna use the Lua pattern. So I'm gonna grab the chase plate right there, and create a node which is called path. This node, it's a Lua pattern system that is gonna search from with a regular expression. I'm gonna search for a particular expression. I'm gonna search for all the steel object, and I'm gonna connect it to the flow, and I'm gonna use a preset of metal, and I'm gonna trigger render. So basically what Guerilla did, it's he used a keyword steel, and he was searching for all the elements that contain in the shape name steel, and some part contain pretty interesting information that can be used for the surface. Like in this example, I select the PSTC. I guess that means plastic, white or shiny. But what I was interested for, it's the element that got the steel element right there that will help me to affect the shading of metal. So you can easily understand that with the Lua pattern you can give the shading of your object with only basic key name, and get some recipe that you can use to propagate over your production. So we can still work with override and select some element. Oh well, I'm gonna create a new path node, and I'm gonna say that I'm gonna search for the glass elements, and I'm gonna connect it to the flow, and I'm gonna create a glass pattern with a glass preset, sorry, which is a simple glass surface transmission shader, nothing fancy, and you will see that start to get my my log development. Let's create another one with the BL keyword, sorry, and we're gonna create a surface which is gonna be dark. Okay, not too dark. Perfect. So with the bin operator, I can be able to intercept or manipulate stuff. Like, let's say that we're gonna mix with another patterns element that are called PSTC, and we're gonna mix them together and say that they're all gonna go through my surface black. So you see that there's a lot of elements are PSTC, but I'm gonna say that I wanna use BLK, but only elements that are BLK and PSTC, which is gonna be intersection. Okay, let's trigger render. So there is less elements, or only the elements that got the BL keyword, but I can also subtract elements from the BL key set, and it's gonna only keep me for only these simple elements, which are now in fact plastic. I'm gonna use the PSTC to get something like, say that is gonna be a specular, and use that as a surface too, and affect some specularity. Perfect. Nice. I'm gonna show you that you can easily also manipulate groups. Let's say that we wanna change the color of the whole arm. So I'm gonna navigate through the R key, and I'm gonna grab the L arm element, which is the group, and I'm gonna say that this is gonna be an electric blue. I'm not sure I'm gonna go to being doing electric blue. Yeah, good, electric blue. So easily I can affect all my shading on my arm. Just question that my element of steel is gonna be overriding my blue shading, because metal is over my blue color of the diffuse. So I'm gonna use the tag system of Guerilla. I'm gonna remove my arm selection right there, and I'm gonna trigger render. So what is a tag? A tag is a string that been added to a shape. I'm gonna select arbitrary a couple of elements like this one, and I'm gonna affect a tag which is a totally arbitrary system, and I'm gonna create a foo tag, like foo right there, and I can now call in my system my foo tag and say that this one is gonna be something with incandescence red. Okay, perfect. So okay, let's remove the only get the red incandescence right there, and I can anytime select a shape and say that this shape, it's gonna be also affected by foo, and I'm gonna trigger render. And that's one of the best way to arbitrarily select shapes and groups element together. So let's talk about lighting. This is my sample scene from the samples of Guerilla that you can find directly in App Samples Light, and this is an example of all the light that we got. Basically, we got all the common light that are accessed right now, and square, point, direct, distant, and some with shaders like this one, the spot, and we got environment also. So all the basic system light are accessible in Guerilla. But what I find more most different from the other lighting tool that I used before, it's two features. One is the instantial of light, and the second one it's a brand new features in the Guerilla 2.3. It's the mini light system that I will show you. So first of all, let's start with the essential light. So this is basic scene. What I've got is just a point light, nothing fancy. Just move the light from my plane just to be sure that it's not in the plane plane. And so it's just a point light with all just a basic intensity. What I did, I create a couple of locators, hundreds ones to be clear. And what I love with Guerilla, it's I can pick one locators. I can see where is locate, and when I'm gonna connect the this locator as a parent of my light is gonna go directly stick to the position of my locators. So I'm gonna trigger new render. As you can see, that the light is gonna be at the right place. That's one of the way to link allocators in movement, something like link part of a car to a light and be sure that the light is gonna move like it's gonna follow my car. But what is more interesting, it's as I'm just feeding that with a precise locator, I create on my locator look an instance of my light. But I want to go further, and I wanna create a lot of light. So what I will do is I will use the Lua pattern, and I'm gonna say that I'm gonna use all the elements that start with a root pipe lock, which is gonna be all my locators, and voila, as you can see, I can be able to create hundreds of lights really quickly. Okay, so I'm just gonna remove my little patterns. Perfect. I'm gonna trigger render. So I've got 100 kind of light. At any time, I can pick one light specifically and edit the settings. Let's say that I'm gonna pick the light number 4, I'm gonna create a light attribute, which is gonna be overriding my light attributes. Makes sense. And I'm gonna change the color of my light, and as you will see, all my lights from my locators points are gonna go through that. So I will go for something more precise, and I'm gonna just get my not only all the element that ending my point light, which is going to be on the instance, but I want to choose one light specifically, which is the light number 4, and only the light number 4 is going to turn red. So I can play with the lua pattern. That's something I love, and I say all the light that ending by 4 are gonna be affected by the red color, and that's my case. So in the last version of Guerilla, we introduced the mini light system. So in my example that I just rendered, but I'm going to show you, we got something like really close from a million light, 900,000 to be precise, more than 900,000 to be precise exactly. And so I'm going to start to trigger render, and as you will see, with only a couple of seconds, Guerilla is going to be able to generate the scene with something really close from a million light. I of course still the same computer, which is only a laptop, a million light. We got the chance to be able to test our many new version of Guerilla with a brand new machine from Intel directly. This is really an super power computer, so this is not my laptop, this is a render that Jean-Michel did, which is a really complex scene with a render board totally brute force system of SSS, something that we use on Minuscule with Jean-Michel and on his wonderful work. And as you will see, that's something this machine, which is very powerful with more than 100 thread, is able to reconverge and to render faster than any configuration I just chance to use with. Let's talk about procedurals. Procedurals give you the power to create fur, generate air and instances, and of course by extension create environment. That's something that we will have a look. So Guerilla is able to produce wonderful procedurals. This is one of the samples that we share in the app samples menu. This is our first sample from Jean-Michel. It's a wonderful asset. I really love it. It's so cute. It's being created with a fully procedural system from Guerilla with only 2 procedural system. You can have a look at it and be able to inspire your creation with this system. It's a wonderful way of produce fur or grass with a really sober system. This environment scene was rendered also the super powerful machine from Intel. Thank you so much to them. This one more than 112 thread, and as you will see, this is an example that Jean-Michel produced. Have a look at this tutorial on the YouTube channel, and it's really fun to play with the ray trace OpenGL, the ray trace viewport. It's a lot of fun, and you can see how it's super fast to get all the detail in your scene render really quickly. So let's talk about rendering, my favorite part. So Guerilla is a path tracer, but also a bidirectional path tracer. It's a fully adaptive sampling system and fully progressive since the version 2, which is something that I love to use. It means that I'm gonna stick to my settings on all my production without taking care too much about optimization per shot. Guerilla is doing the tricks. And we introduced in the version 2.3 Intel Embree, and also the checkpoint that can help you to resume your render in many situations if you are using preemptible nodes on any cloud provider, or maybe you wanna do a preview and resume your preview. It's something that I use already in production right now. Introducing till Embree in our render, we did some benchmark. I did some benchmark, to be honest, really recently on a couple of scenes. One of the scenes was the scene of mice from my students of Israel Digital, and I take time to re-render the scene with a couple of version, and we found a really great speed up integrating Embree in the whole last version, about 20% of the scene, and it was really more interesting in the Moine Island, which is my favorite benchmark, to be honest. We got a really more interesting gain using Embree for this super complex scene, and thank you so much to Disney for sharing this asset that I love to play with in my summer of 2018. So we integrate the Intel Open Image Denoise, which is a high-performance denoising via machine learning methods. It delivering improved quality image faster, and it's usable for preview and finer frame. So here's a basic setup. I set up a scene with two IOV. One is gonna be not denoise, and the other one is gonna be denoise with open image denoiser right there. So I set up the same settings. That 5, which is a really high threshold, so my noisy image is gonna be with a lot of noise, and I'm gonna compare the these two versions. So that's something really simple that will be executed in a couple of seconds, and we are gonna compare the two different versions. There is a lot of detail in my scene because there is a lot of detail in the normals, and let's have a look about the main difference between the two of them. So as you will see, the Intel denoise all my image, even if it was really noisy, with keeping all the details that I've got in all the texture map. I've got to create the normals of my tire. After rendering all these wonderful images without noise, we need to composite them. We got an output system will appear to easy layer in one render, and we got an open source format that we create, which is OpenXR ID and OpenXR ID LPE, which are brand new. The LP, it's a brand new stuff. So this is an open source format that you can have a look at the code. It's totally open, like the name of open source, name it. Let's have a look. So this is one of the sample scene from the samples, the polter one. I will show you to really quickly layer your scene. So I'm gonna go to the passes system, and I'm gonna dive into the render graph, and I wanna be able to render on the this cube. So simply I'm gonna click and drag the cube, connect it to my flow, and I'm gonna duplicate my layer, and I'm gonna call that cube. I'm gonna drag and drop my layer that I've got right there, and I'm gonna say that everything that is being called cube is going through my cube layer, and is gonna be exiting to my cube layer, of course. So let's render the scene, and I'm gonna switch to my cube layer, and easily I can extract my elements. So if I wanna remove my cube from my main layer, which is called layer, I'm gonna subtract my layer minus layer right there, and as you will see, he is gonna remove my cube from my scene, so I can be able to composite it with a simple over in my favorite compositing tool. Just one more thing, Guerilla got one free commercial license per IP address, so there is no private license edition, there is no indie version. If you are indie, if you are a student, if you just a novice and wanna learn Guerilla, just go to the website, download the version that you can download. If it's right, you can use it as a license to create your own commercial project.